I'm sitting here with one of my best friends in all the world, Reggie Smith. And most people in Jackson know who Reggie Smith is. If they don't, they missed one of the finest persons I've ever known in my life. Reggie has been one of my primary realtors in Madison County for many, many years. Been involved in many things. He cares about people. He cares about getting things done for the right reasons for Madison County. So, Reggie, I'm glad you're here with me today,
thank
brother.
you. I'm flattered and honored to be here, son.
Well, you know, the first time I met Reggie was in 1972. I bought a house from him on Linda Vesta. You don't remember that, Reggie?
I know where it is.
You know where it is. His office was on Airways above one of our good friends' office, Lawson Crane.
Right.
He was upstairs. His office was upstairs. You went in, you parked in the back, and you went up the steps to your office.
Correct.
Yeah, and so that was where I first met Reggie. I first realized who he was. And then shortly after that, my wife and I became members of Forest Heights United Methodist Church, and Reggie and Lawson were members there. So we've known each other since 1972. You got to realize Reggie has been involved in a lot of businesses, more than just real estate. The first thing I remember you being involved in was Dogs and Suds.
That's right.
Yeah. It was a drive-in, milkshakes and hamburgers and things like that,
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah. It was out on North Highland. What was it close to? How would you compare it today?
It was right in front of where the mall is today.
Well, for a retailer, I mean, there's been major changes in the way the market has reacted, and I'm sure, Reggie, in real estate, the same thing. There's been major changes since the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and there was a time when, I operated a business from a yellow sheet, Reggie, from a spreadsheet, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, when I was on a spreadsheet, I knew what was going on.
Sure.
Then they brought this big thing and they called it a computer. I don't know what's going on at all now. If it goes down, what happens? You're out of business. Yeah. So there's been major change in marketing. The things I was doing 10 years ago, they probably don't work that well today. Matter of fact, they may not work at all. Back in those days, television, the radio, and the newspaper, the printed page was the way that you market everything. And Reg, you've seen the same thing, hadn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Technology is so different today. A good example was when we started real estate. We used Polaroid cameras. You're too young to understand what a Polaroid camera is. But you'd take a picture, and on the front of the car, you'd put it down. You'd have a little roller. You'd put liquid over the picture to preserve it. And today, you take it with your telephone. And everything is driven by technology. And like Gary, I'm not there. I still work from a yellow legal pad. If I can't have my yellow legal pad today, I don't know what's going to happen.
Same way.
And they don't let me get near the computer or the copy machine. They say, they're kind to me, these young people. Oh, I'll help you out. But what they're really saying is, you're out of touch. Let me do it. You'll mess the machine up.
The interaction with your customer is, it's invaluable. But I see things from the supplier end. When I'm buying from suppliers, more and more of those folks you can't even talk to on the telephone. You got to email them your order. Everything is done on the computer. They don't want to talk to you. That's very impersonal to me. I don't like that process. I want to talk to, if I want to call and discuss the product with someone, I want a real person on the end of the line. I don't want to talk to a computer. I don't want to leave a message. I want to talk to that person direct. Now, they hadn't all gone to that, but that's where they all would like to go to. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a mistake. Reggie can pull off a lot of pranks, he's been known to pull some good ones. And probably the best one I can recall, Reg, was pulled on you.
Oh, my goodness.
Our friend Lawson Crane.
Yeah. Oh.
Reggie was having a birthday party at his office with Town & Country, and Lawson's wife, her name was Sybil. And Lawson was quite a prankster himself. He could pull off some good ones. He says, I want you to go down. He said, I saw this cake at Smith's Grocery down in Hicksville. And Sybil said, Lawson, that's not real. He said, I know it's not real, but I want you to go buy that if they'll sell it to you. So Sybil goes and buys this. I guess it was 4 or 5 layers. It was pretty high.
Yeah.
It looked really great. It was a wedding cake, actually. That's what it was. It was just a sample for that. But it was actually a styrofoam model sitting there, and he buys that. Sybil buys it, brings it to Lawson. Lawson takes it to Reggie's party as a gift. And Reggie thought it was the prettiest cake he'd ever laid his eyes on. He was just so impressed with the ability of his friend. He didn't know that Lawson really cared that much for him. He said, "This is outstanding. What a beautiful cake." He said, "We're not going to cut this cake. We're going to save this cake. And I have got some missionary friends who'll be in town in a few months." And his wife Lou put it in the freezer, and they froze that styrofoam cake until his friends showed up. And so when they came, how many missionary friends was it?
Oh, half a dozen.
Half a dozen. And he gets the cake out, and tell them what happened when you cut in that.
Well, you could just hear the styrofoam squeaking, and then you knew that you had been pranked. But I put it back in the freezer, and when Lawson had his next birthday, we took it to Lawson's office, and he didn't recognize.
He didn't recognize.
So it came full circle.
So these two guys are probably the only two guys who ever got a real expensive styrofoam cake for their birthday. Reggie been in business longer than me, but I've always looked at him as for advice, someone I have a great deal of confidence in. But when I went into business, I had gone into real estate for a short period of time. It was 1974. Now, many people don't remember 1974, but I remember it very well, Reg, don't you?
That was not a good time.
Not a good year. It was all embargo. Interest rates rose to 21%. You couldn't borrow any money. I mean, if you went to the bank, what would they tell you, Reg?
We'll get back with you.
We'll get back.
Don't call me. I'll call you.
We'll have to print more money because there's no money here to loan. They don't have anything. So the real estate didn't work for me very long. And so the next thing I knew, I had $425 in the bank. That was what my wife and I had to our name. We had a house payment, we had 2 car payments, and we had kids in school. And we had to eat, and we had no income. That's kind of a reason to get you up and say, something's got to happen here. So I took the $425, and I heard about a guy out south who had some carpet remnants that he was selling at a very low price. So I'll go out there, and he's got all these remnants and roll goods, partial rolls, for 75 cents a square yard. So out of my wisdom, I thought, $425, I can buy 21 remnants. I bought 21 remnants, 1 roll of damaged carpet, and came home and told Marilyn that what I've done. She said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to sell these remnants, and we'll be all right." I called my friend Bobby Bear.
Yeah.
He had the old lumber shed over on College Street. We had it listed to rent. I said, "Bobby, I'd like to rent that front room there for at least a month." He said, "Sure." And he said, "You can have it for $75. I said, "Good. Can I pay you later?" He said, "Sure you can." So I cleaned that old front. That was the old paint store for their company. So I cleaned that old office up, that old front, put the 21 remnants in, and this guy calls me and says, this place where I bought the 21, the bank had shut him down and seized all of his inventory. And he asked me, he said, "Do you have a place where I can store all of that carpet he has?" I said, I'm thinking, well, I got this old warehouse. Yeah, bring it on down. So I cleaned all that out, and it was 5,000 yards of carpet. So I cleaned all the carpet up, re-rolled it, vacuumed it, and the bank called me and said, "If you'll hold that for us, we're going to auction that carpet off." I said, "That's fine." And he said, "Would you like to bid on it?" I said, "Sure." So I turned a bid in on it, and had an inventory of full covering. But that 21 remnants and the damaged roll of carpet, that same week I sold that damaged roll of carpet for $375 to a contractor. I was so excited, Reg. I cut the carpet up for him, delivered it to his house. He had an installer there. I rushed the check to the bank. It bounced.
Oh, my.
I mean, I got to go tell Marilyn that check's not any good. But she was kind of brokenhearted because we still didn't have any money. and we hadn't sold anything. But within that same week, he picks the check up, so everything began to move. So, but things began to pick up. It was in December of 1974. It was cold. I was discouraged. But in January, things began to turn around. And that next year, my wife and I, by ourselves, sold $167,000 of floor covering, which at that time, my overhead was very low, Reg. I was able to establish some inventory, so we began from that point. And my knowledge of running a business came from working with other people. I'd been selling all. I'd always, since I've been a little boy, I'd always wanted to sell something. Whatever it was, I'd sell something. But I've been in business 45 years, and all the years hadn't been great. And the last 10 years have been very testy in some ways. But overall, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy making people. I enjoy satisfying customers and trying to help them get what they want. And I know my friend Reggie does the very same thing. Matter of fact, this property we're sitting on, Mr. Smith is the man who made that happen. He got this. He said, "I don't remember this." I said, "Well, I remember very well. There were 16 owners of all this land. There was 8 acres through here. Reggie spent a year getting those 16 owners agreeing to have it rezoned. You remember all that?"
It's kind of fuzzy, if you say so.
But we got it rezoned, and we built this building here in 1984. I think businesses, you have to have a passion. Naturally, you got to have the fundamentals of how to run a business. You got to understand how to make a profit. You got to understand how to be fair. I think you got to understand that the people that work for you are very valuable. The people you're serving are the most important people that you're going to meet that day. So all those things go hand in hand in being successful in what you're doing.
Well, as Gary said, you really can't, as you begin to grow, you can't do it without surrounding yourself with good people. And my challenge has always been, some people have a problem hiring folks that are smarter than they are. I've never had that problem because most of them are. But don't be intimidated by young people with talent. And you grow your business with good folks, good loyal folks.
Yeah, I think Reggie hit it on that. Don't never be bothered by hiring somebody that. I mean, there's some things I do very well. There's other things I do very poorly, and I know that. I recognize that. But things I don't do well, over the years, I've had the ability to find those people who could do those things very well, and I've had some extremely loyal people work for me in the last 45 years.
First of all, let's say that Jackson is a part of the United States of America, and we're so blessed, so fortunate to live in this land where we're free, and daily I'm just overwhelmed by the fact that there are folks in this world that are not free, that are persecuted. So I'm really grateful to be in America, and particularly in Jackson, Tennessee, where I grew up. And we love it here, families here. I lived away for 7 years, but wanted to come back home, and we did in 1960. And under leadership like this man here with the county commission, and we feel very comfortable and secure in Jackson.
I've had an opportunity to go a lot of places in this world. I've been many places over the last number of years. Traveled a lot, been to a lot of countries overseas, Europe, Russia, Turkey, Australia, New Zealand, Greece, Italy. But I always enjoyed doing that. But to compare anywhere you've ever been, you can't compare it with what we have in America. And, I've always said, you never know what you have sometimes until it's almost gone.
That's right.
And sometimes we reached a point here where we don't realize how blessed we are. People ask me where I'm from, I'll say, well, Bill Way coined a phrase many years ago for the Chamber of Commerce. I always tell them, I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, what America was meant to be.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And I thought that was, and I still use that every time when I go somewhere and people ask me, where do you live? Where are you from? So I enjoy telling them that. And being a part of Jackson over all these years, being a part of working here, being a part of helping do any small thing that I could do, working with other people and working with friends like Reggie. And there's so many good people in Jackson who care about Jackson and care about doing the right thing for Jackson. We don't always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, I think we still have the desire to make Jackson a better place to live. And I think many people are working for that same goal. I got to tell this story about Reg. It's a good story. Reg and I, many years ago, we had lunch every day together at the Subway. Every day. That's when Bobby Rogers owned
Bobby Rogers.
Bobby Rogers. Him and his wife ran the Subway, and I would meet there every day, and we both had the same thing, a tuna salad sandwich, every day. And I never got tired of it. Well, back then you could get a little card, and every time you get a 6-inch or foot long, they would punch a star in there. And Reggie would always get his filled up, and he saved those cards. I'd always, when mine would get filled, I would get me a sandwich and use it. Reggie would never do that. He kept them. And one day he's telling me, he said, I've got to go down to the bank, and do you know how many? He had 1,400 cards. I think it was one of the 1,400 you had?
700.
He had 700, which would buy 1,400, you get 700 12-inch Subways. Okay. And he would put it on his financial statement when he go to the bank. So he put a value on that. And he kept all of those cards all those years until they expired. He never got full benefit from them. He never used them. You still got them, Ray?
Still have them. Yeah. See, I wasn't achieving much. So I wanted to make a mark in some way. And that was, my mark was to have the most Subway cards anybody in America. And they think I had it.
I think you did, because Subway put out a magazine. They put out a newsletter, and they had it, and Reggie's picture was on the front there, stating the fact that he had the most they knew of at that time. And you should have been in that record should be recorded somewhere.
I think so. Yeah. Somebody book a yeah, and they quit doing it. People began counterfeiting them on the internet.
Yeah.
So that's when they left me with 700 cards. But they gave me 30 days. They said, you bring them in, we'll honor them. But I didn't want to. I wanted to stand for something.
He couldn't give them up. Well, that's another thing. People don't write. I don't know how extensive that Reggie's list is of birthdays. But there's very few people I meet that Reggie don't call or send a card for their birthday. Now, my grandson, 2 grandsons, 3 grandsons here, I know 2 of them he sends a card every year. One of them's 23 now, the other one is 18. And Michael is 26 or 7, I don't know, I've lost track. But he always sends a $2 bill. Well, one year, I get a $2 bill from Reggie and a card, and I take the $2 bill and stick it down in my drawer. And Reggie's birthday, somebody reminded me, I'm not good at remembering people's birthday, but somebody reminded me Reggie's birthday is coming, so I get the $2 bill out and put it in a card and send it to Reggie. And Reggie came to me and said, what are you doing, recycling my money?
Been a friend for 50 years or so now, but he's one of the most unique people I've ever known. And I tell him, listen to this. I don't know everything he does for the good of mankind, but he's been president of the Care Center, a home for women and children, for 20 years plus. Okay. He's on the Nikki Cruz Board of Directors in Colorado. He goes out there occasionally. Nikki Cruz Worldwide Ministry. Gary's involved in it. He's a member of the Gideons. He and others go across the country. He's been to New York City several times to spend a week distributing Bibles to folks in New York City. He's chairman of the Madison County Commission, and they have something like 25 committees, and they meet once a month, and he's at many of those meetings. And he runs a successful business, has a good family, and I don't know, well, and I do know that people with troubled children bring those teenage folks and others. They walk through the door to see Gary Deaton because they know he has a heart for helping people. And he had some lean years in your early life, and he overcame them, and he can help people. Another interesting story. He's well known across the state. I'm told the story. This fellow came in to Deaton's Carpet One here, introduced himself to Gary, and said, "I'm thinking about running for governor. I just wanted to come by and meet you and ask for your support." And Gary said, "Well, who are you?"
I didn't know it.
And he told Gary that's an example of the influence he has across the state. And he's a believer in Jesus, and he's a strong. I came to see him the other day. I got it on my heart to say to him, "Gary, I admire you. Kind of envy you. You've been able to communicate the gospel in such a fine way. I'm not there. Wish I were, but he's able to let folks know he believes in Jesus. And anyway, what an accomplished man he is. I don't know how he has time to sleep, but anyway, he's a great friend, great leader. It's hard being young starting off. I've been there and done that. It wasn't easy.
I think probably failure is the greatest example of success there is many times, because if you never fail, you don't understand the things you need to be doing in a different way. And so I think I failed so many times, Reg, that getting back up becomes something I just had to do. I couldn't stay down forever. And but this man has been he's had more involvement. He's got more people involved in things, just because that's the kind of person he is. He's brought so many people into areas that they've been successful in that he helped them get into, in terms of properties and different other things that I know that he's done over the years. I guess you already know this. I mean, Joey Hale has taken over the real estate part, and Joey's a wonderful, fine man, the right kind of guy to walk in behind Reggie Smith, but Reggie still has his office there, which I think
I do.
I would hate to. He could. The reason he told me he kept his office, he said, "I ain't got time to move all the stuff out of it." We didn't mention the fact, that I don't know what year it was, but one year he was Man of the Year in Jackson, Tennessee. Did you not know that?
It was a weak year.
No, it was a great year. It was the right thing to happen. I love seeing people like him that's recognized for who he is and for what he does for Madison County and for where he lives. I think Reggie said it best, though. This is America. We're free. We have the ability to do things that other countries would love to do but can't do. We don't put walls up to keep people out. Many countries put walls up to keep people in.
Right, yeah.
And people want to come to America. There's a reason for it. I hope they want to continue to do so. I hope we don't lose our way. We've had some rough years, but hope we're on the right track now. Reggie's always bringing me things from the past, and this is neat right here, Reg. The election of 1972 from the Jackson Sun. But you got Roger Murray on the front page. Look here, Reg.
Yeah.
Remember this guy? Long sideburns, Ray Blanton.
Ray Blanton.
He was our governor. Howard Baker.
Uh-huh.
Walter Baker Harris.
Yeah.
Emmett Guy.
Uh-huh.
That I don't recognize. You recognize?
I don't know him. No.
I don't recognize him.
I don't. Some I don't recognize.
You recognize him?
I don't.
Shug Lewis.
Shug Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was our sheriff. But this is a quiet. Ed Jones.
Uh-huh.
All these folks were running for office in 1970. Neil Bibbins.
Yeah.
First Republican tax assessor in Madison County.
Okay.
Do you realize that?
I did not remember that.
I know you remember Gene Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
He ran for sheriff. I think he lost.
Yeah, there's an interesting story about him. I'll tell you when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Well, Gene Stewart ran for sheriff? Yeah, ran for sheriff, and he didn't do too well. He didn't get many votes, and the next day he was on uptown with a pistol on his side. He said, if I don't have more friends than that, I think I need to go armed.
Now, Gene Stewart finally got elected
State House.
He was a state representative, yeah. He went on to be a state representative. And actually, if I remember correctly, he was instrumental in really promoting Indian Mounds and getting a state grant to get that built back up. I believe that's correct. He was very instrumental in and money being funded for Indian Mounds. But you see what his ad says, Gene Stewart for sheriff? Fearless, courageous, and always prepared. And that just reminds me, Reggie, I didn't know this recently, was an Eagle Scout.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows over all those years, you realize all the things that an Eagle Scout represents. Reggie is the ultimate of all of that.
Thank you.
In my mind.
Thank you.
This was when first, this is kind of interesting, this is when considered liquor stores in Madison County in 1970. I don't remember whether that got approved or not. Did it?
I don't remember.
I don't remember
Well,
either.
look here, who was chairman?
Yeah. W.F.
Dub Franks.
This was Citizens Against
Yeah.
Liquor Stores. You remember J. Carl Davis?
I do. Uh-huh.
Hugh Harvey?
Oh, yeah. Remember his dad well, Judge Harvey.
Judge Harvey.
He was a Rotarian. He was secretary of Rotary Club, Judge Harvey.
That's right. And
Before him.
Hugh Harvey Sr.
That was Hugh, yeah.
And you got Hugh Harvey Jr. now, who is a judge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was running for they were called magistrates back then. Now
Yeah.
it's the county court, county commissioners. But here's all the guys who are running. You got a whole sheet full of them. I mean, all these people, we recognize most of them. You remember Hal Wallace?
I knew Hal.
He ran the county budget, did an outstanding job.
Bunton, Murray Bunton.
Murray Bunton.
Who's
Our
that?
friend Bill Smith. Bill ran for office a number of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, Bill was a great guy. Upro Grace, he was sheriff. Little Jimmy Wallace.
Jimmy Wallace?
Yeah,
He just
Jimmy
was like a
Wallace
kid
was
there,
very,
didn't
very
he?
young. Yeah, he was on the county court, went on to be a state representative
Yeah.
for 10 years. He's been instrumental in Madison County,
Right.
done an outstanding job in everything he does. And he's also a friend of mine. I don't know whether that helps him or not. Robin Beard, you remember that?
I remember that name. I didn't.
Robin was congressman.
Okay.
I was his, when he ran for the Senate, I was his campaign chairman. That was in the early 80s. First time I really got involved in a campaign in politics. But this is quite an interesting little collection of 72. Now, everyone in town don't have one of these, and if anybody like to come by, I'd be glad to share it with them. And Reggie also brought me this. This is your government in Madison County in 1965, your government in Madison County in 1969. But if you go back and compare what the offices represented and the salaries, I won't bring all those up because they didn't pay too well back in, did they, Reggie?
Well, the dollar go a little further.
It's very interesting, though. And he also brought me a picture of the beginning of USJ. This has been about 1965 or 66 or
Something like that.
Something along there. It was under construction then. Today, this is a Madison County finance office. And the very back there is the gym, which houses Operation Hope, who does an outstanding job in the community with men working with young people. There's about 120 show up there every afternoon after school, so they do a great job. But Reggie's been a part of all of that building process. In the background, this man was always there.
Well, thank you.
Brother.
Thank you, brother. Oh, my goodness. I didn't know what we were doing, but this has been fun.